Hi everyone. I want to spend this time with you challenging you with a fundamental question about yourself and your life. The fundamental question is, how are you going to define yourself? Now that I've given you the question, I immediately also want to say that this isn't a question that you answer during the span of a few-minute video. It's something that you think about and bounce off of your inner circle of friends who will help provide feedback and will have the courage to answer honestly what they see as your strengths and how you live your life out, and really can act as a solid sounding board for you. So where this comes from, quite honestly, are some of the most painful lessons that I've endured related to my physical challenges. For myself, the way you live your life, unfortunately, heavily revolves around your hip joints. It's not on purpose, it's just what happens. And if you think about the activities you do each day, your hips are heavily involved in almost all of them. So there's a time in my life, back in 2006, where my left hip suddenly stopped working, and I had to think through how I was going to live my life and manage the chores of each day. How I was going to make my bed, get my meals ready, do laundry, getting dressed, just the stuff that you would take for granted. And then some of the other bigger picture questions to do with employment and trying to live life during the midst of the upheaval. So one of the lessons that I could share with you that would honestly save you a lot of headache and heartache is to make sure that when your life is in the most upheaval, there's still parts of it that people can relate to. So, not all relationships will be based over an illness. You may have friendships that develop over attending a gym. There might be a curling club or playing soccer or baseball, that those relationships are founded on those activities. And when the season ends or your interests change, those friends just kind of fade away and you're left with sort of your core group of friends. One of the lessons I would share with you is that in the most challenging of times in your life, whether it's healthcare wise or you're just going through a lot, maybe newly married or divorced, or you've recently moved and you're trying to figure out how you fit into the community where you now live, is being willing to share something in maybe broader terms of what's going on in your life so that you can begin to make connections. Over by my desk, I've got my Rolodex, and there's different people that I would call on and different businesses that I would call on depending on what's going on. There's usually 2 to 3 people that I talk to almost every day because of the internet. And so those 2 or 3 people aren't necessarily depending on a hip or an activity or employment, they're interested in knowing me for me. So the application of this is when there's a lot of upheaval in life, there's someone there that you can honestly talk with and will be a source of support. These are bilateral friendships where if they're going through a hard time, you're also there for them. So the part of this that helps you is that it'll help not make you feel alone or isolated, depending on whatever season you're going on in life. And then to have the grace to trust that new friendships will form. When I talked about some of the others fading away, that new friendships will form based on what you're doing now with your life or what you're planning on doing with your life. So an example of this may be that you've bought a new video game, and with the internet we're able to play with other people. It may start as a few messages back and forth, but over time these can evolve into friendships that start to stem away from the game and sharing your interests in life, or maybe your car got a flat tire and you're frustrated and you're wanting to tell somebody. But that type of thing starts to build. Another one of these lessons I would share with you, just to think about a little bit, is letting friendships build naturally. So when you're going through a lot of challenges, it's important that that core group of friends are active in your life where you can be honest and ask for feedback, ask if ideas that you have make sense, and in that way you're not pushing back people that may be either reaching out to you or the casual conversations that you have in passing, maybe in a checkout line of a grocery store, or the casual lunchroom conversations instead of withdrawing into a shell. Sometimes these evolve into 2 or 3 minute conversations that become very meaningful. It's just something to think about. So where I was getting with this at the start was the parts of your life that connect with somebody over either common interests or the same things are happening in life. I was really glad back in 2006 that there was a group specific to young adults having hip challenges. It didn't give me as much interaction locally, but there were people that understood that I could start bouncing off the ideas and formulating plans that had to do with all the practical logistics of life, and then starting to figure out what I would do for employment and rebuilding my life from there and seeing how it would go. So I've given you some things to think about. Again, these aren't 1-minute answers. I'd like to see you have the best life that you possibly can, and not being overwhelmed by stress is part of that, so that you can enjoy life and then not be panicked about what's coming next at you, or the 101 things that may go wrong, but most won't happen. Thanks for this time that you spent with me today. Bye for now.